Raindrops keep falling on my head.
But that doesn't mean my eyes will soon be turning red.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
So I don't know how long any of you have been watching these videos, but if it's been a few years, you'd probably know just how complicated my relationship has been with the 1999 animated series Family Guy. I went from loving it as a kid to hating it as a teenager, definitely in part due to South Park, to practically becoming emotionally dependent on it as an adult with mad bills to pay. Back in June of 2021, I put out this tweet, check it out. I miss when adult comedy animated series would just let sweet moments rock. Like, don't get me wrong, there's sweet moments, but I noticed they try to sneak a gag in the middle of a sincere moment to kind of break it up. I miss when Homer and Marge could just sing into the sunset. Feeling like this is probably why I really latch on to whenever Family Guy does this in the newer stuff. I think about both of these episodes at least once a week.
Bruh.
I think there's this overwhelming belief that the characters in Family Guy just keep getting meaner and meaner to each other, and the show just gradually moved to a more nasty overall tone. And yeah, no, I don't really think that's a wrong belief.
Who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
It's stupid, man!
You gonna give me more money?
Hi, Dad.
Oh, word?
It's a stupid show. You won't catch any fight from me there. But throughout the course of this video, I kind of want to challenge this idea. Family Guy can be rude and nasty, but it could also be really sincere and sweet in its own way. And still, when an old lady died, I promise it wasn't their last hurrah. I don't even think I'm going to talk about anything from the first 3 seasons for this. Oof. Hey, I got next though. Let's get into it. Don't worry. I will be sure to pronounce every word so y'all could stop misquoting me. I guess you guys just don't understand slang or whatever.
Miss Havisham should have throwed that cake out so it don't like mess all up the bitch's house. I don't know what to do.
Not me. This is the heart of Family Guy, or when Family Guy was freaking sweet, because y'all are dead ass geniuses.
Sorry, bro. I don't know what to tell you, but we're not gonna watch this one.
I know. I know.
This ain't televised, they telling lies, but promise I won't. We've been patronized, they taking lives, I'm on my way home. Relax my mind about half the time I'm watching cartoons for knocks, how I'm locked in my room. Of course they resemble my skin when I watch too. Hypnotizing, tannic, how I follow through the vibes. Okay, dreaming mama's proud as if she looks through penny size. I'm a man of the house like Oscar. You deceive, I believe need Oscar. James Earl when I speak, I'm a fosser. Gotta swerve in the streets, never block us. I go, feel more, just try to make you feel more. Through the halls I felt storms. Looking at me cause I don't like what you like, you feel torn. Should've smacked your light slick back, you ain't seen pimpin' before. For the stars I shoot pimpin', no boy, you best set the score.
Alright, I don't want to just stuff this video with pre-HD episodes. It kind of just defeats the purpose of what I'm trying to prove. But I really thought this episode was one of the ones that was worth it. Meet the Quagmires from season 5 is one of my go-to examples of what Heart and Family Guy could and should look like.
Could I wham my Oingo Boingo into your velvet underground?
Peter feels like he didn't get a chance to be a wild-ass teenager, so he gets Death to take him back in time for a little bit so he can live it up for a few hours. But when he goes back, he's married to Molly Ringwald, and Quagmire over here duffing Lois shit from the back all crazy. The rest of the episode is Peter fighting an uphill battle with his immaturity in order to realize that his relationship with Lois is more important than literally anything else. Because apparently life is just lit if these two aren't married.
Hey, did you guys hear on the news about President Gore hunting down and killing Osama bin Laden with his bare hands?
Man, it's been a rough day. First, Terrific Tariq reviewed Static Shock, then he followed it up with Fillmore, Pepper Ann, Daria, and threw us a little curveball with Lloyd in Space.
Oh my god, Peter, you can't marry Lois.
I don't know who any of those people are.
Meet George Jetson.
Side note, but I will never fucking understand how they were able to do this. It's the same theme music and it's extremely on model. Man, before everybody had their IPs and fucking baby boy chokeholds, everything used to be so much fun. What the fuck? It's so sweet, man. I fucking love this episode, despite it being a parody of a movie I've never seen. Look at this scene. I remember the night that this came out, and I still get goosebumps every single time I see it.
I came back thinking I was missing something in my life. But what I almost missed was the best thing that's ever happened to me. Lois Pewterschmidt, will you be my wife?
Yes. Yes, I will.
The way the music just swells up in this crazy looking 360 shot, all while Brian just smiles warmly as the timeline fixes itself. I fucking love this one, man. I'm not gonna lie. I think honestly this might be my favorite portrayal of Peter and Lois's connection. They play around a lot with this in the show, but they really make you feel it here. He's stressed the fuck out for the entire of the runtime, and you feel him. And while I think the episode is really great at what it does neglect showing us what exactly Peter feels like he's missing without Lois. Instead, it kind of operates on the plane that we understand the connection of a husband and his wife already, and that this new universe, while funny, it just kind of isn't right. It isn't the one that we've come to love, the one that we're used to. So I mean, I can get it. I can get how someone could think that this is a nice moment, but can also feel like the episode didn't work as hard as it should have to get us here. And I think this issue is indicative of a lot of other sweet moments in Family Guy. Like, yeah, this is a really nice moment, but how did the story earn this moment? Why are we supposed to feel gratified when we get here? Especially in a show like Family Guy where the characters are played with and extended so often. Why is this the one time we're supposed to believe, and what exactly did you do to make us believe?
Who ate all the pecan sandies? And I'm a gay alien.
You know, feel free to say no to this, but, would you shave my coin purse?
Today's video is actually brought to you by Manscaped. Did you know that one man every hour, every day is diagnosed with testicular cancer? In fact, testicular cancer is the most common form of cancer amongst men ages 15 to 35. April is National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, and it's just a reminder just how important your health is. Sometimes we, especially men, neglect to go to the doctor, getting physicals or whatever, but that stuff is important. With men's health and hygiene in mind, today's sponsor Manscaped has partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to help you take care down there. I mean, it makes sense, right? We use Manscaped products daily to trim and maintain the hedges of the wild, wild west. While you're down there, Manscaped and the Testicular Cancer Society wants to remind you to check yourself for testicular cancer with easy once-a-month routine at-home self-health checks. Together, we save balls. Get it?
I get it!
I really like the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer. It's waterproof and cordless, a quick and easy way to take care of everything without any mess. The Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is built with skin-safe technology and these ceramic precision-engineered blades, which helps reduce the chance of getting nicked or cut in any of the areas that you want maintained.
Ow, my ball!
It also comes with these adjustable trimmer guards, so you can pick your preferred hair length, and an LED light so you can see the vibes. Manscaped takes shaving balls and saving balls very seriously. This year, Manscaped will donate $50,000 to their longtime partner, the Testicular Cancer Society, to help those impacted by testicular cancer. Get yourself the Lawnmower 4.0 by Manscaped and check out manscaped.com/TCS to learn more about how you can perform simple, routine self-checks at home to prevent testicular cancer. If you want to help support their mission to shave and save balls, you can learn more by going to manscaped.com/TCS, or you can just make a donation to TCS at testicularcancersociety.org. Hey man, if your nuts are hairy, you're a victim. As always, you can use my promo code Tariq for 20% off, plus free shipping at manscaped.com. That's TARIQ. Join the Manscaped movement and don't forget to take care of your favorite pair.
Finally, Peter cares about keeping something up.
Lois, will you stifle yourself?
Oh, now I get it!
Dog Bites Bear is an episode I've talked about already. I did a video on it a few years ago, back before I learned to turn the resample off on Sony Vegas. But I did think it was worth bringing up, especially since it's referenced in the original tweet. Brian destroys Rupert one night while drunk, and Stewie goes to Vermont to scatter his ashes. And Peter shakes Blueberry's hand and refuses to wash it, and Cleveland dresses as Count Chocula.
Did this wrong!
This episode follows a more linear narrative structure, which is a pattern with a lot of these really sweet ones. They really try to fit as much plot in it as they can in order to get you to these moments. But I legitimately believe that, unlike some can say for Meet the Quagmires, the text of this episode actually earns the sweet ending that we get. When Brian follows Stewie to Vermont, they share a couple like really important character moments. There's all this stuff right here about Brian not quite understanding why Stewie still holds on to Rupert.
You're the smartest person in the house, you're incredibly perceptive, you're wiser than people 40 times your age. Why is Rupert the one baby thing you're hanging on to? Why are you so upset over a doll when I'm real and I'm still here?
Which is followed by this, with Stewie vocalizing why he's more comfortable being attached to Rupert than Brian.
Because Rupert was going to be with me forever! He wasn't ever going to leave!
So what? I'm not leaving you either.
Brian, let's be honest. You're a middle-aged dog. You don't have that many years left. And one day, all too soon, I'm gonna be crying at your funeral in an Armani suit.
Feels like that story is less about me and more about your suit.
Go to hell!
But the tip of it
yo!
is this moment right here before all of this where Brian vocalizes his frustration with the strain of Rupert coming between he and Stewie's relationship.
You know what? It wasn't an accident. I knew he wasn't a chew toy. I was sick of you talking to him all the time. I was sick of you complaining to him about me when I'm right there in the room. And I was sick of always playing second fiddle to that bear. He's not even real.
I think it's really interesting that they give us a taste of what exactly he's talking about in the first act.
What was that, Rupert? Oh, yes. Yes. No.
Are you gonna keep talking like this during the whole thing?
And okay, so like if you don't know, this is how the episode ends. Brian and Stewie reach the top of the mountain and scatters Rupert's ashes in this gorgeous looking shot. They start to sing Boys to Men.
How do I say goodbye to what we had?
The episode actually starts to play the real song after this, and we're greeted with a montage with like no dialogue of Brian just driving Stewie home, stopping at a toy shop, smiling, placing him in the bed, and giving him a brand new Rupert doll.
Rupert! You've come back to me!
And they kind of just let this rock. I think this shit made me cry the first time I saw it. They don't undercut this moment. The genuine smile on Stewie's face is real. Stewie never finds out that Brian did this for him, nor does Brian care. And I think that's really nice that they set up Brian's selfishness and pay it off with him realizing that Stewie's connection to Rupert is worth so much more than his insecurities as a friend. And it's fucking season 16. And I think that's my point. Everybody just kind of has their like point where they just kind of stopped watching Family Guy for whatever reason. But bro, I swear, they never stop trying. One of the best seasons of the whole show is season 19. It's still good. It's still good. If you haven't seen Family Guy in years, this is one I definitely recommend. I cannot stress how good Family Guy can be when they really do go for this kind of stuff. You gotta look for it sometimes, but that show y'all used to love is still there. I promise. Oh yeah, that was Paul Walker. I promise it actually makes total sense in context. You should just watch the episode. I don't know. I always kind of feel like two heads are better than one.
How about another head? Another one? What do I need 3 of them for?
He's talking about his dick. Now you see why Seth MacFarlane wanted to reboot this shit. So, for help this time around, I called a friend of mine. The only person I know who respects the MacFarlane verse just as much as I do. It's my boy Hats Off Media. You're not Hats Off Media.
Velma?
Shit. Alright. You got it, bro.
So I'ma put this shit in the cardboard box, changing my number and I'm changing the locks.
Out of all the relationships in Family Guy, there's none that shines quite as bright as the one between Peter and Brian. For starters, it's not something like a father and child, or a husband and wife, or siblings, where the relationship is just sort of thrust upon us, since those are the sort of staple relationships to be expected from a family unit. But Brian and Peter's relationship does not have that sort of expectancy to it. It all started with Peter taking Brian off the streets and making him part of the family. And from there, they form a bond. Their friendship was built up throughout the series, and though some may disagree with me, strengthened over time. And second, and more importantly, they just play off each other really well. Brian acts as the brains between the two, using logic whenever they face a problem, and tries to help Peter with his crazy shenanigans. Or at the very least, tries to point out the fallacies in whatever plan of the week he has, and tries to point him in the right direction. And Peter plays more of the role of emotional support, since from very early on, Brian has always been questioning his purpose in life. Not only that, but he helps Brian leave his comfort zone, and he's not afraid to call him out if he's being a dick, which, Okay, I think it's about time we got into this. Most of what I just described of Brian and Peter is really shown throughout the first run of Family Guy, primarily season 1 through 3. As the show goes on, we still see them participating in wacky shenanigans together, but the heart behind the friendship that the two of them have isn't really shown all that much, and that's really for two reasons in particular. First, the relationship between Brian and Stewie, which was hinted at in the first run, really took off, and basically became the big duo of Family Guy as the years went on. And second, as the show went on, it got a lot more mean. While I definitely prefer the more wholesome moments of the first run of the show, I mean, I think you'll be hard-pressed to find a hardcore fan that doesn't, this meaner, and I hate saying this term because it makes me sound like I only listen to Green Day on repeat, edgier era of Family Guy from the late 2000s to the early 2010s did have its heartfelt moments, albeit more often than not, it felt a bit forced whenever it was on screen. Even then, through all the new pairs that were forming, and through all the cynicism that the show loved to bring to the spotlight first and foremost, I still saw it. That gleaming light at the end of the pitch black tunnel that was Brian and Peter's friendship. It was a faint light, mind you, it didn't glow as strong as it once did, but as long as I could see that light, I knew there was still a bit of heart behind this show. Or I was losing my mind. I mean, that's a possibility too. There are a few episodes where we do see their friendship play a big role, but there's none that I'd argue is more important than Season 9, Episode 8, New Kidney in Town, one of my favorite episodes of the show as a whole. The episode, which has also been dubbed the Red Bull episode, if you know you know, sees Peter hospitalized after drinking a DIY Red Bull, causing complete kidney failure. After missing dialysis, he's hospitalized once again, and the family decides that he needs to get a new kidney ASAP. After Lois's kidneys turn out to be incompatible, and she refuses to have the kids give up one of their kidneys, Brian steps up and offers his kidney. Luckily, he is compatible with Peter, which, I mean, I have no idea how that makes any sense, but I'm gonna let that slide. But Dr. Hartman informs him that because he's a dog, his kidneys are smaller, and he'd have to give up both his kidneys to replace Peter's one kidney, which would kill Brian. This is where the episode takes a complete 180 in regards to tone, and while I'm normally not a big fan of those, I think it works here really well. While the first half was filled with a lot of frantic and zany jokes in regards to Red Bull and addiction, you know, classic Family Guy late 2000s humor, the second half is a lot more somber, and it's played straight for the most part. The kidney plot isn't interrupted by the B plot, and the few jokes the second half has are very mellow and don't mess with the pacing of the second half. What follows the reveal from Dr. Hartman is Brian, who isn't expecting anything in return, isn't expecting anyone to talk him out of it, and isn't portraying a holier-than-thou attitude, agreeing to go through with the procedure. Brian and Peter then have an exchange, which I think is absolutely the highlight of the episode for me. He mentions how he's willing to give up another 8 years of his life so Peter can have another 40, and the slow zoom out with Brian and Peter hugging with Peter petting him, and there's no ill-timed jokes, and there's no corny montages. It just, it gets me every time. See, that's how you get genuine emotion, Life of Brian. It's not that hard. That's really all I have to say about this episode in regards to Peter and Brian. But the rest of the episode is great too. We see Brian saying his goodbyes to the rest of the family, and then Dr. Hartman comes in at the last second to be the donor instead of Brian, and the plot ends with the whole family just laughing and hugging with no stupid jokes. It's just a really good episode. New Kidney in Town not only shows us that Brian and Peter's friendship is still as strong as ever, even if it's taken a back seat as the show goes on, but it also proves just how strong their relationship is. Neither Peter nor Brian is playing any sort of trick play in this one. No one is guilting or blaming anyone into doing anything. It's just an episode that shows off the strength of their relationship and how far they're willing to go for one another. Now, I can hear some of you saying, but Dan, from what it sounds like, the only reason that Brian even offered something like that is because he felt he owed Peter after taking him off the streets. If that was off the table, something like the outcome of this episode would never happen. And you know what? That is a fair point, random person. The fact that Peter did indeed bring Brian in from the streets to live with his family, the fact that he offered him food, shelter, and love could, and arguably should, have an effect on how outsiders like us view their relationship. For all we know, the whole basis of their friendship is one that's built on this sense of debt and paying the dues when the time comes. And even if that wasn't the case, from Peter's perspective, it could just be a sense of a man and his dog, and not really a true friendship. There's really no way to prove otherwise. Or is there? Ladies, gentlemen, everybody, I'd like to go over one more episode with you today before I disappear into the white and gray ethos forever. Or at least until Tariq DMs me again. Thanks again for having me on, Tariq.
You're welcome.
That episode being Season 10, Episode 17, Forget Me Not. The setup for this episode is actually really well put together. Basically, Peter upsets Lois by going with Brian to a laser tag place on family night, and when Brian sticks up for Peter, both Lois and Stewie put Brian's friendship with Peter under fire, stating that it's nothing more than a man owning a dog, and if circumstances had been different, there's no way you two would have been friends, with Brian negating these claims. What follows is a trippy episode where Peter and Brian, along with Joe and Shirt Pants, awake in the hospital, their memories wiped completely, and no other person in sight. What happens next is the four of them trying to piece together who they are and what happened to everyone else. They find their way home, but there's a bit of a mix-up, as Brian believes that he's actually Shirt Pants' dog, and they and Joe believe that Peter is the reason why there's no one left on Earth. While Joe and Shirt Pants go out to get guns and shoot down Peter, they give Brian the task of distracting him and keeping him busy. And in the short time that they spend together, they both feel like they have this strong, unspoken bond, like they were destined to be best friends, even though the circumstances have drastically changed from what really happened. It's such a strong bond, in fact, that Brian actually takes the bullet for Peter, killing him in the process. This reveals, however, that it was all a simulation set up by Stewie to prove that Brian and Peter would never really become friends had the circumstances been different. But Stewie was wrong. There was a bond there, a strong bond, an unbreakable bond that proves definitively that no matter the situation, no matter the conditions, Peter and Brian are destined to be friends. And that's just a really nice thing to have confirmation for. And this, dear viewers of another channel, I believe is a strong message for not only the episode, but the show itself. Brian and Peter's friendship is a very strong one, and it's my favorite relationship of the entire show. And I know I'm not the only one who feels this way. As the show keeps on going and going, we definitely are seeing less and less of the friendship take center stage. And since the bond between the two is so strong, I think that's very upsetting. But then again, these episodes are tangible proof of something that I don't think a lot of people realize. No matter how many times Peter messes up through his stupidity, no matter how many times Brian's large ego gets in the way of his happiness, no matter how many times the two of them get into petty fights, they're always going to have each other's backs. They're always going to care for one another, and at their core, they're always going to be friends. The light at the end of the tunnel may be getting duller, but as long as those things are true, it'll never truly extinguish. And I'm really thankful for that.
Keep on going. Go ahead and turn off the TV. There we go.
It's an easy task. And I turn around and I turn back and I'm like, that is Donald Glover.
After a while, the writers realized how fun it is to pair Brian and Stewie together. And that's how we got this episode with the most clever episode title that they ever had until Season 19's Pawtucket Pat.
Stop!
Collaborate and listen.
Brian and Stewie starts off a little gross. I'm not exactly a fan of Brian eating Stewie's shit, but at its core, I think it's a really fascinating study on the relationship between these two title characters. It's a bottle episode where Brian and Stewie get locked in a bank vault for 2 days. No music, no cutaways, no farts. There's two characters talking to one another for half an hour. In the bank vault, it's revealed that Brian keeps a gun with one bullet in case he wants to kill himself and a bottle of liquor for his last drink.
I don't know. Sometimes it's all too much.
What is?
Life, everything. Just having the gun here, knowing there's a way out, it helps.
Which is already super heavy, but it leads into this discussion about his purpose and how he feels like his life doesn't really mean anything.
I don't know. I mean, do you really live with purpose?
How could you say that to me?
Just calling it like I see it.
In the second act, Stewie drunkenly reveals that he's only around Brian because he's the best of a worse situation. That if he had anybody else inside or outside that crib to connect to, he would. He just kind of settles for Brian. This weighs heavy on the outcome of the conversation.
Dogs are supposed to be able to instinctively live with purpose, not even to have to think about it, just born like that. But I wasn't. You know, I've tried to find meaning in my life, and I just can't.
I really like how this scene feels. I love this real reaction from Stewie.
Yesterday, when you said, I don't live with purpose, you were right. I don't. What purpose does my life have?
I don't like when you talk like this. I mean, I love you as one loves another person whom one simply cannot do without. You give my life purpose. And maybe that's enough. Because that's just about the greatest gift one friend can give another.
Thank you.
I think when I first saw this episode, right, I really liked it, but at a certain point, I kind of found myself feeling this kind of like weird discomfort with it. I feel like while this moment was really nice and earned in context, when you look at the grand scope of the show, it kind of makes all this stuff feel worthless. Brian is really happy and proud to be Stewie's friend, but he also leaves him for dead in Las Vegas. He's an asshole to Stewie when he becomes his publicist. He gives him fucking herpes. Man, that episode fucking sucks. But I've come around on it because I eventually came to terms with how Family Guy as a series is set up. Look at the theme song, it's real Broadway, it's like a show. These characters literally rip their clothes off and show you that they're performers. And that's indicative of what the show is. Family Guy works best when you look at it as condensed stories with some continuity, put on by a bunch of people who know that they live in a cartoon. It's the Mario Brothers, it's Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, and sometimes it's like fucking Scooby-Doo. These characters are not real, nor are they made to feel real. They just put a show on for us every week. It's not that nothing really matters, but they do pick and choose what matters each week. Peter cares about Meg when it matters. Lois can hear Stewie when it matters. Brian is an ass to Stewie when they feel like it'll be funnier for the plot, whenever that's the actual direction that they want to go. And I can understand how that could not work for someone. It's super unconventional and is not exactly how stories are normally told. But I do find it really interesting and fun. But that could just be me, and that's cool. But yeah, I think with that thought process, that's how I was able to come around on this one. When I let my guard down and stopped taking every single thing that these characters did so damn seriously. Brian and Stewie is a really sweet exploration of the relationship between two guys who've been through a lot together. And I think it truly does succeed at every single emotion it goes for better or for worse, I guess. I think I want to talk about these last two because they kind of do something similar. The episodes themselves aren't inherently sweet, but it's those little 4-fact things that the Fox show started doing. Those are the parts of these that get me. Adam West High and Wild Wild West are both reactionary to the 2017 passing of the GOAT, Adam West. Adam West High sees Quagmire and Brian running against each other for mayor. An alright episode, I'll admit that one of my least favorite character dynamics is Quagmire hating Brian. Mainly because everything he hates him for is shit that he did himself.
You are the worst person I know. You constantly hit on your best friend's wife.
Would you just sit down and go to the bathroom already?
But it never actually ends with the town finding a mayor. A few years later, Wild Wild West picked up on this, and has Peter seek out Adam West's cousin to fill in as mayor.
You guys don't know Wild West?
No, and please don't diminish us for not knowing the same things you know. You know how to land an airplane? No, you don't, asswipe.
I'm sorry, I see you, Quagmire, I do.
Thank you.
It's fucking Sam Elliott, fam. How could this shit not be good?
If you're looking for something rugged, something durable, something with an endless supply of gas and a tailgate made for dumping, then you must be looking for Meg Griffin.
Wild Wild West is definitely the superior episode in my eyes. I honestly think that it's in my top 10 Family Guys ever, if I'm being totally honest. There's an atmosphere in this one that isn't present in any other ones, and I think it's because they really go for that Western aesthetic.
Anyway, I thought you would be the perfect person to take his place as our mayor.
Peter, have you ever killed a man?
Whoa. Adam West High's ending is really simple, but I do think that it's very sweet. They renamed James Woods High to Adam West High. It stays like that throughout the duration of the series.
Oh, word?
The reveal is backed with this beautiful sounding soft version of the Family Guy theme, and I don't know where this footage of him comes from, but it makes me emotional every single time.
I want to be a mayor in real life. So I'm here to ask you to make me the mayor of your town. Vote for me, Adam West. It'll be a home run.
And side note, but I think it's really cute that this moment translates to the credits. Adam West is widely remembered as the 60s Batman, and they include a rendition of the Family Guy theme in that style. While I'm at it, a special shout out to season 17's Pawtucket Pete, which opens with a tribute to Angela, Peter's old boss, who was played by the late Carrie Fisher, also known as Princess Leia in another movie I haven't seen. Starts off with Peter just kind of doing a theme song bit.
So no one told you life was gonna be this way, Angela.
But it ends with one of the sweetest lines in the history of Family Guy.
I may have lost a boss, but heaven has gained a princess. And I am at the wrong funeral.
Nice. Wild Wild West ends with all of the characters sitting by a campfire as Peter and Wild West sing Blue Shadows on the Trail from the Three Amigos.
Arizona moon, keep shining from the desert sky above.
It's just a really fucking nice, sweet, and warm moment. And honestly, sometimes that really is all you need to put your audience at ease. The story does not have to have all these twists and turns. The characters don't have to learn these life-changing lessons. I don't know, I think that sometimes we just lose sight of the fact that the sweetest moments of our lives, the ones that leave just such a clear impression, are sometimes the simplest. They do this in Ted too. Mino Moon is great. I think it's the best thing about the movie or whatever, but they did not earn this moment, I promise you.
Where the hell is everyone? Ah, okay, now it makes sense.
So, I mean, like, look, right, with all this laid out on the table, what exactly can we gather from all of this? I don't know, I feel like Family Guy is a different show than what people give it credit for. The show definitely had an era where it was super offensive, and still, today they do some things where I'm just like, nah fam, why the hell would y'all do that? And I think there's definitely episodes where they go for the emotion and it falls completely flat. I fucking hate Screams of Silence. That domestic abuse one, I think that shit is grossly handled. A lot of the stuff with Ida makes me super uncomfortable with how they handle her character and treat her throughout the years. And I'm not too big of a fan of like that episode when Brian died, my nigga. Like, this show is far from perfect. I've seen every damn episode of this shit. This video is not an excuse for anything that Family Guy has done wrong. It is a study of what happens when Family Guy does right. Family Guy can still be really dumb and offensive while also having real, genuine, sweet moments. Both can still be true without one having to cancel the other out. I completely understand it will not argue with you. If the reason you can't watch this cartoon is because it offended you or it made you feel uncomfortable, like, I can totally understand that, and I think it's valid. Your feelings are valid, and I'm not here to invalidate them. But I do think this is a conversation worth having for people that think that the show is lazy or the people behind it aren't talented or that it's like incompetently made. And I don't know, I feel like it's unfair to write off the efforts of all of these super talented people just because you gave up on the show 10 years ago. Just because you stopped looking does not mean that they stopped trying. And I think Family Guy is extremely capable of being the show that everybody claimed that it used to be. This really sincere show about a guy and his family, a boy and his dog, a husband and wife, but it's not 1999 anymore. I totally get being turned off because the characterization you are attached to is gone, but I just think 20 years of television shouldn't be written off just because you didn't like what they did 10 years ago. Every once in a while, and this kind of goes for like all the Fox shows, all the adult animated comedies, they'll just give you that moment where you'll finally see it. You'll see Homer and Marge ride off into the sunset. Because this white nigga right here, let me tell you something, he definitely makes me laugh and cry.
Alright guys, here I am. Who's ready to talk about some Family Guy?
And I'm here too, I guess.
What do you, huh? I don't think we have time for this, guys.
heard that song on how it's so long. Thought he worked his until I handled my biz. There I is, major pain like Damon Wayans. Low down dirty even like his brother Keenan scheming. Don't leave your girl around me, true player for real. Ask Puff Dad D, you ringing bells with bags from Chanel. Baby Benz traded in your Hyundai XL.
It was a G.I. Jane joke.
Oh, no fault, nigga. Where you at? Flipping jobs, playing car notes while I'm swimming in your women like the breaststroke. Right stroke, left stroke was the best stroke. Death stroke, tongue all down her throat. Nothing left to do but send her home to you. I'm through. Can you sing the song for me, boo?